Welcome back. I'm Jack Skeel, CEO of Agency Agile, and this is part 3, the future of your agency. We'll do this last section where we'll talk about how to come out of that maybe funk that I left you in, and what you need to do to actually become better as an agency, what some of your strategic initiatives should be as well. There'll be a 4th section beyond this where I'll do a little bit of wrap up and talk about what I call strategic postures and a couple ideas on just some baby steps to get started as well. Do need to mention, of course, that's sort of a follow-up to our Droga 5 plus Accenture Interactive. I'm not sure how related it was to the fact that Accenture blew a big deployment, $32 million, and took on the nose with some really bad press. It turns out it's hard to do big projects. We know a lot about big projects. At Agency Agile, we help agencies do great projects by showing them great techniques for working with it. But I know the research as well, and I can tell you, literally project failure rates skyrocket as size crosses into the $1 million, past the $500,000 up into the $1 million plus range. And as client complexity and project complexity grows, it gets even worse. You got to know this is a nightmare of a project. Having agency chops in your portfolio doesn't mean that it's easy to run, and I'm not sure how David Droga got the job, but maybe there's something to do with that. Now, let's talk about how you start to win back the heart of the CMO and position yourself better for the CX conversation. One last little set of challenges. One is you've got Forrester off to the side, and this was from a couple of years ago, probably 3 years ago. Forrester was literally saying that consultancies are the integrated solution to your agency side, fragmented landscape. Okay? And there's some truth to this, except about the consultancies. Right? They have challenges as well. Forrester has since sort of modified what it says to say 60% of the agencies and consultancies offer the same capability, making it difficult to distinguish any of them. I don't know if that's true. I mean, frankly, if they're 40% different, I think that's a lot of room for distinguishing. And offering the same capability is not just like some checklist thing. It's actually understanding what people do. But you need to sharpen your toolkit. Okay? The battle is on. Okay? It's clear. The question is, will agencies look more like consultancies? Consultancies are looking more like agencies. Now, that was a strange build. Let's talk about five key ideas I want to get into your head. One is, we talked about be about value, about creating ROI and strategic impact. Okay, very, very important. Embrace the future. Marketing is going to expand in its scope from CX and other things, and really make investments going forward. The agencies that aren't moving are probably the ones that will struggle more in the long term. As client organizations change, it's harder and harder to compete because the competition gets tougher because of the CX stuff and the increased enterprise focus of anything that happens in marketing. It's incumbent on you to work your way into the C-suite or toward the C-suite or laterally in the organization, but make deeper connections both strategically but also tactically with your teams as well. I'll touch on this in just a section, but forward investment is key. Show that you value the relationship by putting money into the relationship. Last and not least, be a teacher. Bring education. Remember what I told you about client is stupid? Well, I'll take the attitude that it's your job to make clients smart. Okay? Your job to make clients smarter. They'll be grateful students that may actually become a teacher with you at some point. Now, forward investment, it's the use of your money on your client's behalf, right? One thing to do, I think it's really obvious, is because this is something very ownable for an agency, is help them work on their CX vision and the journey map, understanding how to think about their customer. Because in doing so, you're going to touch other parts of the organization. And do this for free, give it away. Talk about where they need to go, make investments in understanding their business. Do quarterly business review, strategic business reviews for them and come show them, read the research. There are all kinds of clever ways to do this. One of the ways I used to do was I would look for articles I could send them about things that they should be thinking about. Just the very act of doing that. We teach some cool stuff about this in a separate webinar called Agency Theory, How to Manage the Client Relationship. But there are really cool ways to show them that you actually care and are thinking about them all the time. Think about it. What can you teach them? What do they need to know? Facilitation skills, for example, are great. Here's one that I think is prime. Now, there are organizations out there that actually organize, IHAF is one of them, that organize people who are doing in-house agencies, but the management consultancies have been all over this. But COVID sort of blew that up, and the increased competition for talent and the rebound. We're going to see a talent rebound, I think, by the way, too. But the in-house agency formation is actually trickier than ever and may need some rethinking as well. In other words, how does this work to have an agency inside and outside, and how do we partner them? We're doing some great work, in fact, with a couple of our clients on the client marketing side in terms of structuring what we call agency ecosystems and the like. But this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity to be their partner in building a capability. You can view it as a competition, but then you're going to just get pushed to the side. Help them make that organization great. Make the money off that. Be the consultant in there. Okay? Be the one that's helping them do it, because if the management consultants help them do it, then you're even farther away. Now, last little piece on this. The way you organize, the way the organizations are structured is really, really big in terms of all of this. Okay? Management consultants are really sort of a professional bureaucracy, hierarchical organization. Their business is to repeat things over and over, to get better at it incrementally. And agencies are a very divergent solution organization, which is like, if we did it last May and we're going to do it again this May, we need to do it different. We don't want to repeat it, right? The idea of doing the same holiday campaign 2 years in a row is so extremely rare, right? You would feel like you're a failure as an agency typically if you did that. Now, here's the thing, it's hard to make that mix. You can see Accenture Interactive dealing with that with, hey, well, if David Droga, a non-consultant, run our consultancy, are we more of an agency or are we more of a consultancy? Organizations like Sapient actually did a real nice job of this. I know when I was there, we had our marketing agency and we had our consultancy side, and they blended in and out of a lot of engagements. There are a lot of opportunities to layer that kind of stuff together. Now, we're going to move to how to become a stronger competitor. There are a couple things that need to happen. One is a nimbler operating model. And this mainly applies to agencies that are 50 or 60 or more. Okay? If you're small as an agency, you are nimble already. So congratulations. Okay? But if you're bigger, 50, 60, 100, 200, 300, 3,000, you don't have nimbleness anymore. I'll explain why. The second part of this is you need some new staff capabilities as well. Now, the funny thing is that if you say nimbler, there's probably not much that you could say about humans that didn't talk about their nimbleness. We're probably the most adaptive creature on the planet, and we're ridiculously adaptive. So we do have a lot of nimbleness, but there's something happened on the way to this moment, and that was called the Industrial Revolution. And in that Industrial Revolution, there's birthed an idea that hierarchical organizations are actually effective. Now, they are effective in some situations, but the way that we run these things, okay, comes from a body of work done by the world's first management consultant, a guy named Friedrich Taylor, who had quite severe attitudes about how important hierarchy was and how important it was to know more than others inside your organization. You can see some ugly code words in here on the bottom paragraph. The duty of enforcing the adoption of standards and enforcing cooperation. It's crazy. What that's saying is basically it is managers' job to threaten employees to get the work done at the speed they should be doing it. okay? Or get rid of them, or even punish them, who knows what. It was pretty severe back then. He was largely credited with creating the factory hierarchical business model. By the way, the word manage, which we equate with all of this stuff, right? The word manage was not in the popular lexicon. It was not even a business term until all of this happened. Prior to the Industrial Revolution, the word manage referred to essentially animal husbandry. In other words, caring for and tending sheep or cattle or chickens or something like that. If you think of manger, for example, probably has somewhat the same root, right? So manage was actually a denigrating term to those being managed in a sense, and we still have a little bit of that left over because the hierarchy creates behaviors that are actually somewhat ugly. But more important than that, it is the opposite of nimble, and essentially the more we control our organization, the less adaptive we are as well. Agencies, of course, are what we call adhocracies, this ability to have flexing teams and the like. But a key thing in making flexing teams is to implement actually pod structures. That is, modularize your organization into cross-functional pod teams. This is something happy to, if you want to learn more about that, that's another topic that we teach on as well. But pods are the way to win and make your organization very nimble, even when it's very large as well. What we did see as affirmation of that inside of COVID is that COVID blew up hierarchy and showed that we overmanage. The things you were bad at got worse, of course, but teams actually came through. And the more you had good rules for how teams and pods and squads operate, the more inclusive they were and the better things ran. MBWA, management by walking around, a term coined by Peter Drucker, didn't actually make people more productive. Because you couldn't do it during COVID, team members in general, workers actually got a little bit more productive. Okay? Because it was harder to interrupt them, harder to steal time out of their day. Here's a gift from one of our clients down in Australia. They had already transitioned to a pod-based organization. Here's one of the morning pod stand-up meeting, basically. They, like a lot of our clients, just said, hey, being in pods made this all so easy because we had distinct operating rules for how to actually work together, collaborate, and survive this great dislocation that happened. A couple other things, and this is that pod idea, get small again. Okay? Brings all kinds of efficiency. You'll see reductions in noise, etc. But this allows you to compete more effectively and in a more focused way with the consultancies because you can focus on a smaller set of clients per number of people. Okay? What we see in these pod sizes, 25 to 50 people or so. So if you're already 25 people, you don't need this. You already have it. You want to be careful with hierarchy, of course. Now, let's talk about the new muscles and the new moves that you're going to need. Okay? In creativity, I've mentioned this already, what we really want to be doing is how do we take our creative organization and extend it into experience design, interaction design, etc. How do we actually create more of a product and service innovation organization as well? Okay, these are natural spots for you to play. This is a table you should be at if you're not already. You probably have some natural talent in this area, even if you haven't formalized it. Second is you're an innovative organization. Remember that you've got that. This is a big thing on the CMO or CXO's checklist is how to become more agile and adaptive. And you can teach them things around that. A lot of agencies, a lot of our agencies actually go teach clients agile techniques and the like. But you can actually go facilitate and help them do things better. You're just used to that sort of dialogue, that more flatter dialogue than they are. And being in the middle of that, like maybe facilitating a walkthrough of a customer experience map, makes you seem like a very valuable partner in your ability to connect all of them as well. Now, I spoke a couple of years ago at a 4A's event, the Strategic Marketers Forum, I forget, Stratfest is what it's called. And I had a day in advance with a room of 45 senior marketing strategists and the like. And I'll tell you, I know a lot of consultants, and really the talent set is almost exactly the same. Your strategic marketing folks, marketing strategists, if you will, absolutely are plug and play in terms of the skill set that you need to get to do deeper business and strategic consulting. Figuring out, but I used to joke around, by the way, is that marketing strategy documents usually end up sitting on the quote unquote shelf and no one looks at them after they get created. Figuring out how to integrate a strategic perspective across the whole project, very, very cool idea. It's what the consultancies do. And in fact, driving this out of a niche function and into a core client-facing function can be incredibly valuable. Now, getting your people in there and having remember that multi connection things, this is probably the number 2 beachhead that you want to go take on in terms of how do we get more strategic advice, more strategic connection with the client. We do it with our strategy people, right? Technology as well, there are all kinds of platform plays to be made here. The enterprise technology one is a really interesting one because that's where all the data is. And data is power inside this organization. When we're having a CX conversation, it has to be a data conversation, not just a experience conversation. And that means we're literally what we want to be able to do is take this strategic planning, analytics skills, et cetera, and bounce that into a combination of business case, ROI, and data science, right? And essentially the business case and the data will become the lingua franca for getting things done inside the organization. And having a level of data science mastery is going to just be table stakes as well. I think I have a slide I've added here. This was a recent report by Forrester on the value and impact of omnichannel data mastery. What you can see is that managing data quality, the ability to understand what the data are, and in fact, screening and assessing and all that kind of thing, it's again an area you can play with your client. And the second one I highlighted here is the actual ability to integrate data across multiple marketing partners and inside the organization. Again, big challenges. So this is a place that a lot of opportunity lies if you've got the ability to come in and help them, both whether you can access the data for them and crunch it, or help them interpret data and integrate it with other sources of data as well. Now, last and not least is actually the C-suite skills. One of the things that happened for our industry is those middle roles, that mid-senior role for account and client management, really essentially got hollowed out by the consultancies. The same person that we would pay $200,000 or $250K for an agency probably makes twice as much a management consultancy. So a lot of them are over there. Okay, so there is an investment required on your part, but essentially investing in these people who can drive the business. So I urge a couple things, by the way. One of which is you probably don't need as many strong PMs as you think you do, okay, because that creates hierarchy. But the other is you probably need stronger account people from especially mid to senior skill set to drive conversations deeper and broader inside the client organization. Now, what I'm really saying, if you view this stack of capabilities as maybe a cloud of capabilities, is that there's some set of these things you're going to want to address because the consultancies are actually addressing them all. Okay, so that's what the battlefield is essentially looking like. This ends section 3, and I'll be back in the next video to do a wrap-up where I'll talk about postures and also a few tips for how to get started. See you there.